Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and everything else on the fucking planet that exists, apparently. Today we are here once again to read fanfiction. I bet you thought this series was done. Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh. Anyways, I'm joined by my friends here today, so I'm not suffering alone. And, we're gonna be reading another My Little Pony fanfiction. Now, here's the thing. I read this one when I was like 11, 10. It was like midnight at the time, and I read this one when I was very young, and most of the stuff in it I remember, but I didn't really understand. I didn't understand it that much. Like, I understood that it was wrong, but I didn't understand what about it was so terrible. But in retrospect, I can very much understand what's wrong with it. Anyways, full hate to the original author. They deserve every bad thing that they get. But this might be multiple parts because I hate myself. Without any further ado, let's start. Also, this author doesn't know what paragraph spacing is, so fuck it. A small cluster of mares gathered in Twilight's library one dull evening. I'm already fucking up, dude. I can't handle this shit. A high-spirit pink earth pony, diligent apple farmer, high-class fashion expert, tomboyish Pegasus, and shy butter-colored pet owner all gathered in the largest room the tree house had to offer. Yes, Lucky? Yeah. Alright. I'm back. It wasn't unusual for them all to get together in one room and have little chats, but that evening wasn't spending as much time But that evening was different. They were having a sleepover. Lately, the group wasn't spending as much time together. Pinkie was either working or had plans. Rainbow was on weather duty. Twilight had a report. Rarity had a project to work on. Fluttershy was attending to sick animal. Sick animal! Gotta love how there's already minor spelling mistakes. Just kidding, these aren't minor. These are major spelling mistakes. I'll never forgive this, ever. Jack was in the middle of a large harvest. Today, though, none of them had any significant plans. The entire evening was theirs to spend together as friends. Lovely. Let me guess, is it going to be an orgy? Just kidding! This is not an orgy. I know this for a fact. But I'll let the two people in the call with me try to figure out what the hell this is about. The small The small group of ponies was in a large circular room with tall bookshelves lining the walls. They were giggling and smiling as they reflected on old memories. Each of the ponies was tucked tightly shut the fuck up. Was tucked tightly into their own little sleeping bag. Rainbow and Fluttershy snacked on popcorn while Pinkie, Twilight, and Rarity dug their hooves into a bowl of homemade trail mix. That shit. Hooves? Ponies? My Little Pony? Porn? Applejack must have had a full belly because she didn't bother to touch any snack. Any singular snack, by the way. Bro is motivated way too hard. Anyways. even though she was offered multiple times. Their laughing and giggling echoed throughout the house and woke up very unhappy baby dragon. And then, when I opened the cabinet, Pinky continued as all of her friends were on the verge of burst into laughter, comes in and says, Pinky. That's when all became silent as Spike slammed open the wooden door. He was carrying a small white blanket. His eyelids drooped halfway down his eyes, and small crusties formed in the corners of them. Large bags highlighted around his reptilian eyes. Could you all please keep it down? Some of us are trying to sleep. Although he seemed angry, he was far too tired to produce a mad tone. Pinky smiled and answered for the group. Sure thing, Spike. Yeah, sorry about that, Rainbow apologized. We're just real excited to be into That's actually how it's written. In the hood. Oh. Yeah, in the room together. You know how it is. Applejack isn't speaking like a country woman in this story. She's speaking like a man from the hood. But let me do my best hoodlum impression, since I'm living with one of them at the moment. Let me find. We're just real excited to be in the same room and all. You know how it is. Applejack commented. Spike let out an annoyed grunt and muttered something under his breath before turning around and calmly closing the door. All was silent as the ponies listened to the loud thuds of Spike going back upstairs. When the room was filled with complete silence, all the ponies glanced at each other, each waiting for some pony else to break the awkward silence. So, Rainbow started, disturbing the quietness. Pinky, where were you again? I don't remember. All the ponies fell silent once more for a good minute. Wow, that's a long time to just sit in silence. But it felt like eternity. Finally, Rarity spoke. Hey girls, she started in an excited tone. Why don't we try something different? Different? As soon as I said different, I heard the Vine Boom sound effect in my head. Different? Twilight questioned. How different? How about a little... It's a fanfic, but basically porn. How about a little game of truth or dare? The rest of the mares blushed and kept their eyes locked on Rarity. They all pictured the inevitable awkward situations they could be put through, or the odd things they'd have to confess. Truth or dare? Remember what happened the last time we played Rare? Truth or dare? Remember what happened the last time we played Rare? AJ questioned. Oh, that was a long, long time ago. I was thinking this time, since we're all here, it'd be much more fun. And plus, we're not at each other's throats this time. Rarity does have a point, Twilight commented. Besides, as long as it's only in good fun, I'm sure no pony will get their feelings or pride hurt. I don't like where this is going. The remainder of the mares nodded in agreement. Deep down, Fluttershy was turned off by the idea. Why do we care? Why do we care? Why do we care if the pony is aroused or not? And of all ponies, why Fluttershy? Fluttershy is the yellow one that everybody wants to breed because she's so soft. No, that's Applejack. Fluttershy's the shy bitch. Yeah, that one. He's got it, boys. Woohoo! My Little Pony dolls. But if the others wanted to do it, then why would she want to ruin their fun? Good, now unless any pony else wants to start, I say I should, seeing as though I came up with the idea. Every pony remained silent. Rarity gave any pony a moment to make up their mind. When no pony stepped up, she took it as her cue to begin. Very well then, Applejack, truth or dare? Applejack lifted her head and her ears perked up. Me? Rarity nodded. AJ was a bit suspicious that Rarity was trying to get hot blood between them again. She glared at the moment before answering. Truth. Rarity smiled. Oh, don't be a wimp. Alright then. Is it true that you accidentally kissed Big Macintosh on the lips? Applejack blushed heavily and tilted her hat at an angle so that it covered her face. She said nothing but simply nodded. Rarity couldn't help but burst into laughter. She accidentally kissed her big brother on the lips. Oh no! Rarity couldn't help but to burst into laughter. The rest of her friends chuckled, but tried to keep it any further laughing inside. I knew it! Apple Bloom told Sweetie Belle, and I didn't think it was true at first. Applejack grew angry underneath her hat. Damn it, Apple Bloom! She muttered angrily to where no pony else could hear. Wrong here, by the way. The whole making sure no pony got their self-esteem or feelings hurt rule seemed to fly out the window. Alright, Rarity wiped a tear from the corner of her eye. Your turn, Applejack. Alright, fine, Rainbow Dash. Rainbow turned her attention to Applejack. Her pink eyes were smiling with ambition. Truth or dare? Dare! Rainbow sprung out of her cozy sleeping bag and now sat on top of it, awaiting her command. The rest of the ponies stared in awe at her bravery. You got it. Applejack had nothing against Rainbow Dash, but she did enjoy seeing her be humiliated. They were quite competitive with each other, and both were good friends, but they always had a good laugh when the other went through something embarrassing or a minor failure. I dare you to give Spike a kiss! The small crowd of ponies gasped, and Rainbow blushed heavily. Oh, come on, AJ! I don't have to actually kiss him, do I? Applejack nodded. Don't gotta be on the lips or anything. Just give him a long kiss till he wakes up. Fine. The cluster of her friends all giggled and squirmed their way out of their sleeping bag. Rainbow led the way in disbelief over what she had to do. She turned to her giggling friends and scolded them. Shh! She hissed with a hoof at her mouth. You're gonna wake Spike up! The group of ponies all made their way upstairs silently, holding back giggles. They made their way up slowly, making sure their hooves didn't click against the wooden floorboards beneath them. Rainbow was holding back the disgust of having to kiss a dragon. She could already feel his rough scales against her lips and smell the stench of perspiration and boyishness. Ha ha! She's a lesbian! Ha ha! There he is, Pinky whispered, in a bit too bubbly of a tone. Rainbow felt like turning around and telling the pink mare to shut up, but she knew this was her own fault for choosing Dare. Her eyes locked on Spike, who at the time was sleeping, spread out with his limbs sticking out of a small bed. He was snoring and mumbling in his sleep. Rainbow took in a breath before spreading her wings and flying a couple feet above the baby dragon. She lowered herself and her head, then turned her attention to the small group of friends who waited anxiously. Pinky wore a wide smile, and the rest seemed rather happy to watch Rainbow play out her dare. Even Fluttershy stared in anticipation. I wonder why! Rainbow took in another breath, closed her eyes, and lowered her head. She puckered out her lips, which landed squarely on Spike's nose. It was cold and slightly damp, but his scales were rough and bumpy. Blood rushed to her face and Spike began to lift his eyelids. That's when Rainbow noticed a flash of light in her peripheral vision, which she ignored. When Spike felt Rainbow's lips against his nose, saw her face inches away from his green eyes shot open and he blushed. Rainbow? Spike gasped in disbelief. Rainbow blushed heavily and broke away. She stared at Spike, who was completely agape in shock. Rainbow, why would you? It was a dare, I swear, she squeaked with a heavy blush. Oh, he didn't seem amused with her answer and wiped a bit of residue off his nose. If you guys are going to do your little dares, leave me out of them. Please. I already have a mistress. Alright, every pony, let's give Spike some room to sleep, Twilight said with a giggle. The group of ponies trotted downstairs, all giggling and teasing Rainbow of the dare. Twilight stayed behind a minute to tuck Spike back into bed and tell him good night. She then galloped back downstairs to the other room, where the others waited patiently. Hey, Twilight, Pinky smiled and waved a square piece of paper around. I got a picture of Dashy kissing Spike. Rainbow sat in her sleeping bag, looking very displeased with Pinky. Alright, if you think it's so funny, how about you pick now, Pinky? Truth or dare? Rainbow smiled, not being able to wait to have her sweet vengeance on the baker. Pinky smiled at her with determination in her eyes. Dare, she chimed. Alright, I dare you to. She thought for a moment and then had a short an aha moment. I dare you to lick the bottom of AJ's hoof. Somebody's got a foot fetish, and I don't like that. Of all the things you could be attracted to, why feet? Why the fuck would you choose feet? We don't kink shame, we kink judge. There's a difference. Rainbow killed 2 birds with 1 stone. She got back at AJ and Pinky at the same time. AJ was a farmer who worked all day in the dote, and Pinky loved eating sweets all day. That'd give her something to taste. Twilight, Rarity, Fluttershy, AJ, and Pinky looked shocked at Rainbow's command. Applejack's face turned a bright crimson. Pinky's smile did fade, but she knew a dare was a dare. Pinky started towards Applejack, who was directly across from her and to the left of Rarity. She sat at the edge of AJ's green sleeping bag and sighed. A dare's a dare, Applejack. Give me your hoof. Applejack blushed heavier and stuck her hind left leg out. She turned away and waited to get this over with. Pinky wasn't any more excited for having to do this, but she slowly stuck her tongue out, shut her eyes, and gave the bottom of Applejack's hoof a long lick. It was rough and tasted like dirt. Pinky drew her tongue back and gagged. Applejack withdrew her hoof and blushed heavier. Rainbow burst into laughter. You actually did it, she cried out. I can't believe that. Oh, shut it, Rainbow. You kissed Spike, AJ said as she wiped Pinky's saliva off her hoof. Alrighty, Pinky chimed. My turn. She examined the room of ponies. Applejack and Rainbow already went. All who was left was Fluttershy, Rarity, and Twilight. How about Fluttershy? Fluttershy's teal eyes widened as she squeaked. Me? Pinky nodded. Truth or dare? Fluttershy hid behind her locked pink mane. She knew she couldn't possibly accept the dare. Both dares of the night were too strange for Fluttershy to even attempt to go through with. She didn't see how the others could do it. Truth, she answered shyly. Fluttershy, Twilight started. You don't have to do this, you know? We're not forcing you to. Fluttershy nodded. I know, but it wouldn't be fair if every pony else had to go and I didn't. Pinky smiled to her sheepish friend. That's the spirit. Now, Truth. She thought for a moment and then looked up at her friend. Do you have any weird fetishes? End of chapter 1. Kill yourself. Nothing has changed between this and the last chapter. Don't question it too much. Anyways, chapter 2. Chapter 2 is named Pinkie Pie for some fucking reason. I thought this was about Fluttershy. Fluttershy, as well as the rest of the ponies, were in complete and total shock. Why would Pinkie ask something that deep and personal? Ha, deep. Especially to a shy pony like Fluttershy. They all understood Pinkie was outgoing and could be very strange at times, but this was far more than any pony had expected. Fluttershy stammered with a half-agape mouth. She was blushing heavily at that question. Pinkie! Rarity snapped. Why would you ask something so personal? How do you think Fluttershy feels about that? Pinkie examined her shy friend. She was still in complete shock. I don't know. She now looked shamefully at the ground. It's alright, Pinkie, the buddy-colored Pegasus reassured. If everyone else had to go through with the dare question, then I will. Pinkie still felt guilt in the pit of her heart. If you want me to, I'll go first. Fluttershy looked up. What do you mean? I mean, if you would feel more comfortable with me telling you my fetish first, then I will. Fluttershy smiled a little. Really? Pinkie nodded. It's the least I could do. Anyways, my secret fetish isn't too strange. Let me tell you the story. Not a secret now, dipshit! Nice going! Pinkie thought back to the time she discovered her first fetish. It was the same year she lost her virginity. Yes, it was weird, but she never thought of it being too out there. She was just turning 19. She had only been working at Sugar Cube Corner for a couple years, and the Cakes hired a colt around her age soon after she started working there. His name was Ginger Snap. He had a light blue coat and a brown mane with a cute freckled face. His cutie mark was a gingerbread man. Pinkie fell in love with him very quickly. They lasted more than a year. God damn! That is a lot of fucking edging. Holy shit! They lasted more than a year. God damn! That man must have been so fucking pent up. All that edging. Shit! Pinkie's cruel and unusual torture. Pinky was working her usual shift, helping to make the treats while Ginger Snap worked the cash register. She was mixing eggs, flour, water, vanilla, and butter into a large orange bowl with a wooden spoon. Her curly pink locks were tied back into a chaotic bun under a hairnet. She hummed a joyful little tune as she stirred the ingredients together. Pinky, a high-pitched but masculine voice called from the cash register. "We need another order of chocolate cupcakes, done by 2 p.m. Okie dokie, baby! The pink earth pony chimed from the kitchen. She continued to hum as she gathered a few more eggs and butter from the fridge and some flour, cocoa powder, baking soda, and oil from the pantry. Am I reading an ingredients list or a fan fiction? What the fuck is happening? It does matter to me, damn it. Alright. She grabbed another large bowl as the oven preheated for the treats she was working on prior to that one. She poured the batter from her other project into a large cake pan and waited for the oven to ding. She started putting the other ingredients into the large bowl and stirred them together. Her cult friend took a break from the register for a moment and made his way to the kitchen. Passing his little mare friend, he brushed against her and smiled. "Look, I know I already got you some for your birthday and all," Ginger Snap started. Pinky looked at the heart-shaped pendant dangling around her neck and smiled. "But I still have something for you later tonight." Pinky's blue eyes lit up and a wide grin formed on her face. "Really? What is it?" Ginger Snap giggled. "Oh, trust me, you'll like it a lot. It'll be waiting in your room after work." He smiled and winked at his pretty little mare friend. Pinky looked a bit sad and her eyes lowered to the floor. "Why do I have to wait?" Ginger giggled in response. "You're so silly, Pinky." Pinky was confused on why she had to wait, but she desperately wanted to know what her present was. She quickly threw in the rest of the ingredients and got all of her tasks done for the day, and all the done as quickly as she could. She had to admit it wasn't her best work. She sloppily splattered on the frosting and threw on the sprinkles for the cake and cupcakes she baked. She even undercooked the cupcakes a little, and they were extra soft on the inside. She finished other orders as swiftly as she possibly could. "Mrs. Cake," she called, galloping out of the kitchen with a quickly thumping heart. "I know it's not closing hours yet, but I've worked so hard, and Gingy says he has a present for me after work, and I'm so excited, and it's my birthday. Can I please have the rest of the evening off?" She smiled widely at her boss as her blue eyes sparkled. The blue earth pony flinched at the sight of the optimistic baker and stood motionless through her rant. Sure, Pinky, just make sure the kitchen is clean before you go." "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, thank you, 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 thank you." Pinky didn't even take a moment to check if she actually had turned the oven off, cleaned up, or anything. She ran out of the small bakery and up to the nearby apartment her and Ginger were living at during the time. They lived on the second story, which she ran straight up to. She retrieved the key from under the mat and unlocked the front door before stepping inside. "I'm home, Gingy!" She heard a familiar voice coming from her bedroom at the end of the hall. Although it was muffled, she understood it clearly. "I'm in here, Pinks." One in the pink. She galloped happily to her room, where she knew a surprise awaited her. Her heart thumped with love and anticipation. She took a breath and hesitated a moment before opening the door. She wanted to savor each little moment. Finally, she wrapped her hoof around the doorknob and opened the wooden slab with a grin. Her eyes grew large at the sight before her. Her precious goat friend laid on her bed with his legs open, revealing his full stallionhood. It was the first time she saw stallionhood in real life. She blushed heavily from the sight. "Like it?" he asked in a teasing manner. Pinky was left dumb. Pinky was left dumb. Pinky was left dumb. She couldn't get a word off her lips. "Oh, and if you like that," he said before reaching under the bed and pulling out a box. It was a small white and made of cardboard. Whoops. He gestured over her with a smirk. She trotted to the side of the large bed and looked inside the box. Inside was a whole dozen of cupcakes, 3 cans of frosting, a tub of whipped cream, a bottle of strawberry sauce, a bottle of chocolate sauce, a container of multicolored sprinkles, and a beer! And another beer! 3 beers! 4 beers! 5 beers! 6 beers! 7 beers! 8 beers! 9 beers! And a Bloody Mary! And a container of multicolored sprinkles. Her eyes widened and her mouth watered at the sight. "What are you waiting for, babe?" He patted the spot on the bed next to him. "I thought you'd be a little more eager for your birthday present." Pinky giggled lightheartedly, with a hue of red covering her face. She crawled onto the bed next to her dear cult friend and planted a loving kiss on his lips. Her returned the kiss and broke away with a smile. Ginger's hoof ventured into the cardboard box and pulled out a bottle of strawberry sauce and winked at his mare friend. He undid the cap and poured some of the strawberry liquid onto Pinky's chest. She placed a hoof in the expanding puddle and licked it off. Ugh, tasty. Pinky scooped up some more in her hoof and took another lick. Her cult friend smiled at her. Now. Wouldn't want to eat it all before we get to the good stuff. Ginger poured more of the sticky syrup onto Pinky's lower belly. It slowly ran down, nearing closer to her marehood. Ginger placed his hoof in a small puddle of syrup and forced it down quicker, then smeared the gooey strawberry sauce onto her virgin marehood. What the fuck? So you're telling me that these 2 horses are putting strawberry syrup on each other's genitals? You know what I don't understand? The idea of putting fucking ice cream toppings on penises. Why would you do that? Pinky let out a soft moan as he squirted more sauce directly onto her clit and pressed his strawberry-caked hoof onto her slit. Not into. Fuck. Forcing some of the sauce inside of her. Ah! Oh, God! Why? Ah! Dude, what the fuck? That made me so uncomfortable. Basically, the male equivalent would be jamming your urethra full of fucking chocolate syrup. That's basically what just happened. God damn, this is fucked up. She blushed heavily and shuddered in pleasure as her privates were touched for the first time. Don't be shy. Her cult friend tilted the box in her direction, encouraging her to take out a dessert item of her choice. Sorry. Pinky giggled with a snort before taking out a can of chocolate frosting. She popped the lid open and scooped some of the frosting up with her hoof. She smeared the sweet, thick I'm starting to think I'm going insane, partially, but not completely. Her cult friend's chest, he smiled and removed his hoof from her marehood. It was wet with a bit of Pinky's excited juices. He called them excited juices. Who the hell do you think you are? And thickly coated in strawberry syrup. She didn't like simply being teased like that, but she was definitely in the mood now. She took another scoopful of frosting and rubbed it all over her cult friend's chest, turning his blue body sticky and brown. Ginger only responded by dumping a good portion of the strawberry sauce all over Pinky. Dude, their bed must be fucked by now. Do you know how difficult that shit must be? Strawberry syrup is red, and that shit is sticky as hell. Imagine having to clean that off of your bed just because you decided to be kinky with your partner. Dude. I feel bad for the laundry people. That's who I feel bad for. I could give a shit less about these people. She laughed as the sauce ran down her sides and tickled her. The red sticky substance covered the bed. Those poor laundry people. And the majority of Pinky's stomach. Pinky scooped a little up and licked it from her hoof. Her cult friend then tossed her a mischievous grin. He sweetly spread Pinky's legs open and gazed upon her strawberry-caked marehood. He licked his lips and felt his mouth starting to water with lust. Likey? Pinky asked in a cute voice. Do you likey? Do you likey my pussy? Oh, fuck. Her cult friend replied with his tongue out and his body growing hornier by the second. That's like the name of male horse or something. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention animals class. Her cult friend replied with his tongue out and his body growing hornier by the second. Finally, Ginger couldn't resist a second longer. Her lowered his head to Pinky's marehood and gave it a long, tender lick. Pinky shuddered as he licked it a few more times, savoring the taste of sweet strawberries. Her slit grew wetter with her own fluids as he continued. Finally, he looked up at his pleased mare friend and thrusted his tongue inside her. The moment he did, Pinky grew extremely wet and blushed. My voice just died. He twisted his tongue around, licking up all the sauce he previously forced inside her. He thrusted his tongue in and out, and Pinky let out soft moans of pleasure. It feels good. You know what? I'm gonna read this in the most disturbing voice I can think of. It feels good. It feels good, man. Keep fucking doing it, man. Pinky was ignored, and her cult friend continued to eat her out happily. Ah, yes, thanks for the adjective, as if I needed to know that information. After only around a minute more of continuing, he pulled his head up and smiled at her. She was then extremely moist. Moist critical reference! Moist critical reference! Let's go! Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. And she wanted more than anything for his tongue to go back inside of her. She seemed almost disappointed, but didn't say anything. Don't worry, sweetheart. I want your orgasm to come when I'm actually inside you. I was just getting you ready. He winked at her, and she simply nodded, both eager with lust. Her cult friend pulled the box back over to him and looked inside. This excited Pinky a lot. She didn't know why, but she loved decorating her cult friend in sweet edible desserts. He chuckled and pulled out the container that held the dozen cupcakes. There was an even combination of vanilla and chocolate, and the icing was all multicolored. They all had small pearl-shaped sprinkles on top. Ginger snapped open the container with his hooves and licked his lips. All of the lust built up, and Pinky forced her to grab a chocolate cupcake and crumble it onto Ginger's lower stomach, smearing the frosting and cake part and forcing it lower. She giggled and grabbed two more, one in each hoof. She forced her sweet lover down and smashed two treats in random areas on his torso. He giggled, loving Pinky's naughty, lustful side. I don't think this is lust. I think this is a food-wasting bitch. But that's besides the point. Pinky didn't know what had compelled her to do it, but she did. She took another cupcake from the container and put it at Ginger's stallion hood. She then crumbled it and smeared the remains onto his sheath. Who the fuck calls a penis a sheath in 2023? Oh wait, this was written like way back when. Never mind. He loved it, and slowly he became erect. Oh, I thought he was already erect. Never mind. I guess eating out his friend didn't excite him. which means that he's not attracted to his friend at all. His girlfriend, mind you. And slowly he became erect. Her hooves glided up and down his shaft as she smeared the chocolate cake and rainbow icing. She licked her lips at the sight before her. Ah, yes, a penis covered in cupcake frosting. You know what? Do you guys remember when I read you Cupcakes? That MLP creepypasta? Do you think that was the one where Pinkie Pie gutted Rainbow Dash? Do you think these are the same cupcakes, but like from different ponies? His now fully erect cock was masked in cupcake remains. It looked so delicious. Without further hesitation, she dipped her head down and cleaned off his messy member. She had never had sex and didn't know how to give a blowjob, but easily maneuvered her way around the hard beast to get the tasty cake off. I'm starting to think these two aren't sexually attracted to each other. They just are fat as fuck and like eating food off of people. The vanilla frosting tasted sweet and rich. Her tongue instantly craved more of the sweet, delicious frosting and chocolate cupcake. Her tongue caressed and massaged his hard cock as she licked and scraped up every inch of the delectable dessert. Ginger laid back, relaxing and moaning at the earth pony's efforts. He almost drooled and could barely speak as she continued. Pinkie made her tongue to the very bottom of the shaft, where the most cupcake had gathered. She lapped up the remains that landed down there, some even very close to his balls. Horsecock, horse balls. Some large chunks landed, and she nibbled those away, which made Ginger shudder in pleasure. Ah, so he's a masochist, too. Her adorable blue eyes shimmered as she looked up at him. It was with one long final lick, getting the last row of frosting in her mouth, that he finally began to pulsate. A small amount of pre-cum dripped out of the head, and Pinkie gladly licked it up. She finally raised her head and smiled at her cult friend. "Are you ready?" he asked with a confident smile. Oh wait, I was trying to do a shitty impression of a character I will not name. "Are you ready?" he asked with a confident smile. "Not yet," Pinkie answered. She grabbed the bottle of chocolate syrup and undid the cap. "We need a little lubricant." Ginger's eyes widened as she poured the sticky coating all over his cock. He blushed heavily as the rich chocolate ran down into the area in between his legs. So it is written. All over his balls and onto the bed beneath him. She didn't stop pouring the sauce out until it was nearly almost gone. She held the bottle to her lips and took a large gulp out before she finally tossed the plastic bottle to the side. She smiled as she plopped into the bed and widely spread her legs. She was increasingly moist and well prepared for intercourse. Ginger mounted his eager mare friend, placing his chocolatey member at her slit. He pressed the head against her. Pinkie's eagerness grew by the second. She moved her hips up and forward, trying to force the syrup-coated cock inside her. Her cult friend smiled. "The angel that presided on my birth is a little creature formed of joy and mirth. Go love without the help of anything on earth." Pinkie. Holy shit, is that William Blake poetry in a My Little Pony fanfiction? Is that a V reference? Am I naked? Find out more on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. Anyways, time for a water break. If you have a water bottle next to you, fucking drink out of it, you piece of shit. I will come find you. So anyways, after the man quoted William Blake poetry out of nowhere, which is totally 100% part of the story and not something I made up to have an excuse to reference V, we continue. He leaned down and kissed her on her chocolatey lips and pressed and pressed the first 3 centimeters of his slippery stallion hood into her. She gasped and blushed a little as it went into her virgin marehood. It did expand her a little bit, but it slipped in easily with a thick coating of chocolate. Ah! Dude, could you imagine having fucking chocolate syrup and shit like on the inside of your body? Do you know how fucking disgusting that would be if you like didn't eat it? Like just imagine putting a car funnel into your ass and then dumping chocolate syrup into it. Just imagine that. That is essentially what's happening here. That's fucked up. Happy birthday, son. The cake. Oh, it's a fucking My Little Pony character's penis covered in cupcake frosting. Yeah. Right. She let out a long, satisfied gasp as her cult friend slowly pushed all the way inside her. Once she realized that he was only 4 inches long, she was quite disappointed. She expected better from Horsecock. The chocolate combined with Pinky's juices as he quickened the pace. Pinky motioned her hips a little as well. The stallion hood filled her hole completely, and she barely felt a thing when her cherry popped. Ugh! What the fuck is this? Oh, this is that hentai thing. And she bled a little bit. The friction between Ginger's cock and Pinky's inner walls felt amazing for both of them. Pinky occasionally let out a short whine of pleasure, and Ginger grunted a little. I'm not moaning, fuck you. This is a trend in my series. This feels so good, Pinky announced as she moved her hips with Ginger's rhythm. The intense pleasure left Ginger dumb, and he only gave a slight nod and grunt. Both of their speeds increased, and their pleasure grew, although bullets of sweat formed on their foreheads, and breathing became a bit of a challenge. They didn't slow down one at all. In fact, they sped up. After only 3 minutes, they were practically drowning in their own lustful pleasure. Every time Ginger's stallion hood pounded as deep as it possibly could, a rush of pure pleasure pulsed through Pinky's body. Why are there so many fucking P words? Jesus Christ. Every second their pleasure increased. Each moment their heartbeat throbbed faster. I'm about to finish. Who the fuck says I'm about to finish? Nah, it's I'm about to come on. That's not me moaning, by the way. I can moan a lot better than that guy can. No, I'm not moaning. Fuck you. Look, there's already a video of me moaning on my YouTube channel, and that was an out-of-context Beanies clip. It was me moaning at Godot's music. No, not Godot. Godot. Fuck. I forget. I forgore. Instead of saying I'm about to finish, just say, oh, good heavens, I'm arriving! Pinky looked up at her cult friend and shook her head, barely able to speak. I can't get pregnant. Ginger sighed and with her request pulled out with a... Oh! That reminds me of that frickin' video of that guy who runs up to that frickin' furry woman and pulls her tail out, and you can hear the pop. Ew, I hate furries. You want it? You want it? You want it? He fucking sniffs it, dude. That's fucking crazy. He lifted upward to cause a little bit of friction between his stallion hood and Pinky's clit. The sensitive bubble caused a strong gush of wonderful sensation throughout her body. She let out a groan and a strong release onto her cult friend's throbbing member. His cock was covered in chocolate and Pinky's fluids. He was heavily panting, and Pinky felt a hard pit in her stomach, an emotion she recognized as guilt. You didn't get to finish, did you? Pinky asked. Ginger shook his head and Pinky frowned. It would have been wrong to get off but not allow your partner to orgasm. You're a woman and you came. It doesn't fucking matter what the man wants. Jesus Christ. Get with the program. Let me help. Let me help. A sudden strange voice erupts. The two of them look towards the door, and who do they see standing there? Why, of course! It is the legendary Cum Man! He has come to save the day. He walks over to the horseman who hasn't finished, and begins to jerk off him at a medium pace. The horseman then comes, and Cum Man says his signature catchphrase, "Come," and then flies off into the sunset. That didn't happen. That didn't happen, by the way. Let me read it properly. She smiled. Let me help. Pinky moved her hoof to his very wet cock and rubbed his staff. Shut the fuck up. Origin staff? Her hoof slid up and down very gently, but still intense enough to bring the desired sensation. It wasn't long until her cold breath let out a strong steam of sticky white cum. With a grunt, she giggled and grabbed one last cupcake from the box. She scraped the hill of frosting off onto her cold friend's belly. She then proceeded to scrape up his cum and place it in substitution for the frosting. Ew. Pinky smiled and took a large bite out of it. It tasted like sweet vanilla with a bit of salt. Oh, you think? You think cum is salty? No shit, Sherlock. The perfect, salty and sweet, the perfect combination. Ah, yes, because people know the flavor of cum. That is just a normal thing to know. They say it tastes like salty coins and milk. My question is, why the fuck would you put salt on coins and drink milk? And why did a lolly give me this information? It's a song on YouTube. His cold friend laughed at Pinky for taking pleasure in tasting his cum. It's not funny, Pinky scolded. It's good, try some! Before the stallion could say a word of rejection, the pink pony stuffed the cupcake into his mouth, giving him a taste of his own medicine. Ha ha! He got forced to eat his own cum. Now about the video I was talking about. I'm gonna play it for you right now.
Everyone's counting on me to cheer them up and give them lots of energy. I hope that I can help them study for their
This crazy shit.
I've got to support them and always try my best. It's so much fun to help out in the
Until I smell like salty coins and milk. You know what I don't understand about lollies? Why do they? What's the point of them? Like, what's the big attraction? What makes people attracted to lollies? It doesn't make sense. They're just, their eyes are too big for their head. They look inbred. What is going on? If you Alright, that concludes part 2. See you in part 3.